Hello again and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast, where every week a group of Stags fans join up in a park or a cafe or whatever just to have a good old natter over Mansfield Town FC in what is the only show on the internet, on the radio, on your kitchen table, which is 100,000,000,000% dedicated to Mansfield Town FC. Probably. It's my line! Gutted! 3 weeks into Storm My Line, it's all good fun. It's a great start. I'm Craig Prieston, and once again in the beautiful Carr Bank Park this week, joined by only two faces. There is a reason for that. Cam Felton and of course Mark Plum. We usually do have Nathan Edge sat alongside us, but unfortunately for us, but it's fantastic news for him. He is off on international duty with the England blind squad at the European Championship. Nathan, we wish you all the very best. We'll be watching all of those games streamed, of course, on the Paralympics YouTube channel. We'll put a link in our description as well on that. We would have had a friend of the show and a good friend of mine and Mansfield Matters history as well, Scott Rogers, with us this evening, but unfortunately he is running slightly late, so he's unable to make it for this week, but he will join us in future weeks, which means it's just me, Cam and Mark in a park, talking to a camera, talking to some microphones to talk about Mansfield Town FC for you. So let's get straight stuck into it then, boys. Of course, the first win of the season on Saturday, a 2-0 win over Forest Green Rovers at home. Great to finally lift the shackles, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic performance as well. I mean, we could have got a 4 or 5 at least. You know, it was a dominant performance from start to finish, first and second half. We absolutely dominated them, and you know, like I say, got that first important win, and hopefully we can get a bit of a run going from it now.
And I think a key part of the game on Saturday was actually the first half performance as well. We sat back a little bit, let them show us what they're actually capable of, how they've set up to play this game, and obviously whatever Evans has spoke about at half time worked, because it was out of all the games that we've seen this season, it's by far been the best second half performance.
Yeah, I think it was an example as well of how to win football matches. I mean, you look at the way Forest Green set up in the first half, it was evident that they were only coming for one thing, and that was a point. They were coming to play for a point.
Set up for it,
the way they wasted time and things like that, they were playing for a point all day long.
Yeah.
But that's how you win football matches. How many years and how many times have you both seen a Mansfield Town side get frustrated by that, start lunging into hard challenges and start reacting to that, and then switching off by thinking, well, they're playing for a point, so we'll play for a point, and then in the end, ultimately, going on to lose?
Yeah, we've had a couple of games where we've done that before, and it's always been that last gasp consolation, and that's what made Mansfield a lot of the time. Past spells in the Football League, obviously the last time they played in the Football League over 10 years ago now, we were conceding last minutes all the time, because that was just how we were set up to play. And you can see that the first few years for the conference, first few years of this spell in the Football League. But now I think we've actually, ever since Steve Evans took over last November, I think that's gone out of the window a lot. There wasn't many games that we've set up for a draw. We've really just come on leap and bounds, and you can only really say it's in the last few months that we've actually seen that as an improvement.
Yeah. How pivotal is that, Mark, for the fact that, as Cam says, you know, we don't set up for draws anymore, we don't set up for draws, we've got a fight about us now?
Well, yeah, of course we have. I mean, it's about managing the game as well. I mean, when you're in them games, obviously they're really frustrating, because as I've just said, you know, we go on to lose them, you know, and drop a lot of points from, so, you know, the fighting spirit we've got, you know, what he's brought, his wealth of experience, you know, it's all out attack. I mean, we saw it against Crewe as well, you know, just going for that last minute goal, you know, to win the game, so we're going to get some brilliant games.
Yeah, definitely. Cam's laughing because I've just covered up the answer to the connection question. Listeners and viewers of last week's show will of course know that Cam cheated last week on the connection question by looking at the answer. So let's talk about the connection question then. Of course, each week here at the very start of the podcast we'll talk more about Forest Green in a couple of minutes or so, but at this time in the podcast we always do the connection question. It's a random question which somehow connects loosely sometimes to the forthcoming fixture. I reveal the question at the start and then reveal the answer at the end. So let's go for today's connection question then. It can either be a very tough one or a very hard one or a very easy one. I think today's one is actually quite tough unless you know your Mansfield Town FC, or unless you're like him, Cam Felton, looking at the answer. Have you seen the answer, Mark? No. Okay, Mark's. I'm trusting him because he's got an epic beard. More on that very, very shortly. So today's connection question then. Throughout history, the Stags have struggled at Accrington, last bringing a point home in 2014. The Stags' last victory over Accrington was in the FA Cup in 2006. but which current Stags midfielder was an unused substitute for Accrington Stanley at the very start of his career? Do you think you know the answer? It's a tough one, I'll give you that. Current Stags midfielder, do you think you know the answer, Mark?
Yeah, I think so.
He thinks he knows it. I thought it was quite. I think he's had a cheeky look.
I'm just thinking about players that actually. We've got quite a young midfield, so trying to think of a player. I think probably Paul Anderson's oldest player in midfield. Thinking of someone that's old enough to have played in 2006.
Yeah, well,
very swift there.
Very swift movements. Yeah. So you think you know?
Yeah,
I haven't got a clue.
Cam's not got a clue. Well,
No.
we'll reveal the answer later on in the show, of course. Let's move back to Forest Green. Then you mentioned him there. I loosely mentioned him there with your excellent beard, Mark. It's coming along. I think me and you, just on the side topic, need to have a bit of a competition now. Because usually, I get to the point. This is the boring bit of the podcast. I get to the point where the beard gets itchy and it comes off.
Yeah.
I've not got rid of this for about 2 weeks now. It's not itching anymore. It's staying stable. Paul Anderson's got a great beard.
Yeah.
We mentioned it roughly last week, the evolution of beard, although he's put his head out the window and it's just blown off his face.
Yeah.
I think me and you should have a competition so you can have the best Paul Anderson beard as voted for by the man himself. What do you think?
Brilliant, yeah, definitely, got to do it.
Fan of the show.
So yeah, Paul, if you're listening,
Paul.
we saw the tweets last week and good stuff. And
Definitely.
Thanks very much for tuning in, Paul. Much appreciated. So we will get you on the podcast. You did offer to come on the podcast as well, so we will get you on at some point and you can judge who has the best Paul Anderson-like beard between me and Mark. Now, I think, you know when you do those face merge things?
Yeah.
I think that would be alright because there's a bit of ginger in Paul Anderson's beard. Hope he doesn't take offence to that. Actually, I don't think he will. And there's a bit of darker hair in there as well. So a mixture of mine and yours, we might get a Paul Anderson beard.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
We'll see how it
You'll
goes.
see Craig's edited in a bit. It would just be a snapshot of Mark and Craig's face just like half stuck together.
That's not going to happen.
That's scary.
It is a scary thought.
Craig's editing skills aren't that good.
They are, thank you, but I'm just not doing it. Let's move back to Forest Green. Then we mentioned in there Paul Anderson, even though we're going to mention him because he's a fan of the show, obviously, and referenced that point numerous times now. But in all seriousness, he was on fire against Forest Green.
It was, and I think it was that determination that we talked about earlier on the show. We didn't have that before. We've actually got players that are wanting to push forward. He's a wing. We've got wingers. You look at CJ Hamilton and Alfie Potter and all that, but they bring them on last minute where we've never really had a winger that will be able to do a full 90 minutes. And just the commitment that Paul Anderson's got to the club, and someone, I think it was mentioned on Twitter before, a lot of paid players come for they come for the wages and they sit on the bench and they're happy. But and then it was a retweet of actually Paul Anderson's tweet, because he tweeted something about great win, boys, first one of the season, let's go out and get more. And I think the commitment for the players that we brought in this season, wanting to do well for Mansfield, not just coming here for a paycheck. And I think that's going to be one of the big parts of the season. We've actually got players that are wanting to push themselves.
And I'll tell you what else he's sort of done today as well. It was a bit of a sidetrack, but what he has actually done today, you've seen the photos.
Foundation.
Been out with the football and the community side, been making pizzas and things like that. That's great for the kids, isn't it?
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. It just shows you what it's all about. You know, just taking time out and to be doing that. It's fantastic. I mean, for me, it's been one of the best signings of the summer. To be fair,
and you compare someone like that to someone that's playing in the Premier League. You look at like your big names, your Pogbas, people like that.
Would you get Pogba in a pizza hut?
Would you really get someone doing it? Would you really get that? Or if you would,
that's a whole different story, but we're not going there.
That's a bit strange, But you don't get that commitment to the club and that little bit extra from your players at big teams. So for someone like Paul Anderson, with the experience that he's got and the high level that he's played at before, for him to step down to League Two and then also just involve himself within further reaches of the club as well.
And do it.
It is. It's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we'd love to see more of the players doing that as well. I'm sure they will, because I'm sure Steve Evans will 100% back that. So that's great. Dare we say the new James Maguire? Maguire used to love doing things like that. I'm sure he still will. For Boston and for us, obviously part of the under-21 setup, of course, as well. But dare we say the new James Maguire, Paul Anderson?
Yeah.
Or are they two different kinds of pitch?
I mean, it's Paul
on and off the pitch. I mean, I'm not talking about on the pitch. I am talking about off the pitch.
I think off the pitch, Yeah, I'd say he is, but like on the pitch, I'd say the hard tackler at the minute is probably Hayden White.
Do you think?
Yeah, you look at some of the tackles that he's made, you just look, they're very Jamie Maguire-esque, just lunging in.
Well,
Not like lunging in, but making that perfect challenge, getting in, getting stuck in.
Yeah.
Well, let's stay with the back line for the moment. Of course, 2-0 win, great. 3 bags of coal, 3 points on the board, whatever you want, whichever way you want to dress
Clean
it.
sheet.
Took the words right out of my mouth, gentlemen. And there was one change to the back line between the first 2 games, which was Murphin for Pearce.
Well, yeah, you look at that, and they kept it very quiet, but there was a virus going around the club, and I know Steve Evans mentioned it in his after game interview and on his.
Called a press conference, Cam. You should know this. Come on.
And his press conference on Monday.
2 years I spent teaching him. Didn't take a word in, did he?
Did. But he mentioned it in the press conference before, and it's like the players that aren't 100% fit. Haven't played. They'll be playing at Peterborough. Was that today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
Later, yeah.
But if Murphy had been 100% fit, he'd have played. And I think just changing the squad round did it good, to be honest. Because we've been all right at the back, but we've been shaky at times. And I think bringing Christian Pearce in, the experience that he's got, I think really did make the game a little bit different.
Do you feel that a lot of people underestimate Christian Pearce as well? Because he's, I don't want to come across as negative, but sort of on paper, if you're looking at stats wise, his pace is not up there, and sometimes that has cost us in the past, especially when he sort of first joined. That was a lot of the problems he had when he was down at Torquay as well in his previous club. But he is a solid player, and if you look at the games he's played for us, he's up there, isn't he? I mean, he was part of that back 4 last year, which was so unbelievable to beat.
I mean, for me, to be fair, I'd say he's our best defender. I mean, that's in my opinion, obviously, but he's just always looked solid. You know, you just feel a lot more comfortable, and I think whoever plays to the back 4 will agree with that. You know, and it's just, you know where you are with him, really.
I think what he lacks in speed, I think he does make up for in physical ability and footwork, because you look at some of the parts of his play last season.
He's a very articulate player, isn't he?
He was, and he taking the ball down, taking it slightly backwards, but just like turning away from attackers, getting the ball away. And it was a key thing against, I think it was Steve Evans' second game in charge, Blackpool. That's where the goals spun from. Balls down, other end of field, up near Shearer. Pearce takes a turn, launches it upfield. Defender heads it across, we score.
I mean, when you look at it as well, he's only 26 and he's got bags full of football experience.
Exactly. I mean, for a player of that age as well, it's so difficult, isn't it? You look at like Kyle Howkins, who we had on loan sort of last year. He's sort of intermittent loan spells, whereas Pearce, wherever he's been, just seemed to have started bang, right, I'm in the starting lineup, you're not moving me.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that going to be the case this time? Because obviously we've got Murphy, as we say, to come back. Bennett's not really had a sniff yet in terms of playing centre-back. I actually think he's a better centre-back than he is right-back, but that's for another thing for another day. Is Pearce going to be hard to shift now, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. But saying that though, I think he'll rotate in a lot of games, and because obviously he doesn't know his starting line-up, and against different teams we're going to play certain players, so I think he'll chomp and change. But hopefully he'll stop in there. But you know, obviously there's going to be suspensions, injuries along the way. But you know, let's not forget George Taft as well. You know,
of course, yeah,
another fantastic player, as well. And I think it's good.
George.
I think it is a good thing that we've got quite a few players that are wanting to push forward for the starting lineup, because last season we had good defenders, but we had to play pretty much the same back line most of the time, because we hadn't got that. We'd got that class in the golfing class was quite clear between the starting defence and the backup defence, and I think this season there isn't a starting defence, because any of them players, obviously they played Xander Diamond in with Murphy for the first game.
Well, if you look at it, it's been 3 different centre-back pairings. You've had Diamond and Murphy, you've had Murphy and Pearce, and then Diamond and Pearce. So we go, you know, it could be anything, doesn't it?
Well,
each one of those 3 are as strong and as stable as each other.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a tough decision for Steve and Paul, obviously, on Saturday when they decide to make. Well, they might even make it Friday when they have to make the decision on starting 11, because you look at the Accrington Stanley teams that we've come up in the past, they've always been a very tough team, and you look at their attack force. Billy Kee, a very strong player, obviously known to the Stags as a goal scorer as well.
Really? I can't remember him doing much in the Stags shirt, to be honest. But
no, because you're like, when we played them last season, he scored twice against us.
He's an excellent talent. I just don't think he's got the. I think To be fair, I only sort of said that tongue-in-cheek. When he actually came to us, you could tell he'd not played football for a while. You could tell his head had gone.
Yeah.
He's got a manager in John Colwyn at Accrington who's sort of put his arm around him and said, look, you're going to get us some goals, and we'll come on to it later as well, but he's actually brought in some really good players to sit alongside him, and that's why he's unlocking defences. Thank you.
Well, yeah, so that
you
was,
did you get the reference?
terrible.
Why do you laugh?
I just realised what you said then. But no, yeah, it was
honest.
It was unbelievable last season when he played at our place for Accrington, and I think that Accrington's always been a very physical team, so I think it's going to be a tough decision of who's actually going to be, who would put their battles up against someone like Kee.
We'll come on to that later on, of course. Let's move on now, of course, to the big news this week. Steve Evans has come out and said that the club have once again tabled what would be a record transfer fee for a striker. For a striker? What's a striker? Who knows? He's Scottish. Well, who knows? For a striker. I'm not going to edit it either. I'll make myself look like an idiot. It's fine. Tabled a big record bid for a striker. Rumours that it's James Hansen from Sheffield United, of course. Let's address that one first. On paper, his record is class. I have a reason why he wouldn't join us. Apparently he's turned us down. If it is indeed him, it could just be hearsay, of course, but what do you guys make of it, first and foremost, the Hansen situation rather than the big bid?
I think it would be a bit of an interesting signing because he's not... I know I was reading on Twitter, a lot of Sheffield United fans were just saying he's good at holding the play up, but he won't score many goals at many levels. And I think...
Is that a case that they've not seen the best of him then? Because just
possibly
looking through
not, because
a bit of his stats, he's scored goals for fun for Bradford and for Guiseley.
Well, you look at the team that they've got at Sheffield United and the players that they've got. Obviously, Billy Sharp just bangs them in for fun. He's an absolute quality player.
Isn't he?
Are you really going to be able to topple somebody like that? You're going to have to be scoring ridiculous goals to be toppling someone like that. So I think it's down to he's not really had the chance at Sheffield United.
He's played 13 games. He signed in January this year. He's playing 13 games. Tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, as well. I mean, it's obviously going to be a struggle for him to get into the team as well. So you think, okay, he's got to drop a couple of divisions, but surely to get a chance of promotion and that, I mean, it tear League Two apart. Let's be honest with you. And that's the kind of player we really need, isn't it? That experience. But again, it probably is here. So.
And I think it is a key thing. And this was one that I saw on Twitter this week that somebody said. I think a lot of players these days would rather sit in a higher level, sit on the bench and collect their wages, rather than play at a lower level, get game time, but get a lower pay.
Yeah. You see, and I think that's a reason why we 100% should avoid players like that, because we come back to the Anderson thing.
Yeah.
You said it yourself earlier, Mark. He had criticism for coming here and maybe taking what will be a decent wage, probably one of the best in League Two, to be fair, for a player of his calibre. Yeah. But he's committed. Yeah. He showed he's committed. Whereas you mentioned, whoever this striker is, Hansen or otherwise, wants to sit at the Championship, happy to sit on a bench like this and say thank you very much, give us some money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
not the attitude we want.
It's not.
And you don't want players like that.
No.
And when we wanted to push forward this season, we don't want to be in League Two next season. Put it this way: you look at the players that Evans has brought in, the attitude that Evans has took with the league, like the players that he's played. He's pushing his players as far as they can go. Yeah. And I think that really shows that he doesn't want to be in this league much longer. He didn't want to be in this league this year, never mind in a year's time. You look at the 18-19 season, he doesn't want to be in League Two.
No.
Well, he's got points to prove of himself, hasn't he? Which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. Let's keep on the striker subject now. Obviously, we've had a couple of games, 3 competitive games, and obviously pre-season as well, to sort of reflect on different strikers and what have you. We've got 4 strikers at the moment. That's fair to say. We're not going to class Anderson as a striker, plays out wide. So let's say 4 strikers. Mellis is a centre attacking mid. Danny Rose, obviously Amari Stirling-James, Jimmy Spencer and Liangol. Let's look at the 4. Danny Rose is going to get 25 goals easy. Look at his hunger and his desire in the opening 2 games. It would have been 3-3 had the keeper not made a great save for Rochdale.
Well, exactly. He's pushed forward. He's had that chances, and I think we're seeing what he lacked last season. He didn't, because.
Well, let's not forget Mansfield paid money for him from Bury. Adam Murray paid for him from Bury. He's got a great reputation.
I'd like to know
and
how
he just
much
didn't get in,
was.
did he?
No.
It'd be, I wouldn't like to put a figure on it.
It's also about having the players around you as well. That's a big thing as well.
And I think a part of the thing with Murray as well, he's always going to favour Matt Green.
Yeah.
So you know,
He's got his favourites, hasn't he?
That's why Rose didn't sort of get a run. But you look at when Steve Evans came in and Rose's transformation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they did pretty decent to it. Was it Bury?
Yeah.
It didn't do too bad, and you look like that's what I was meaning. Like, I'd like to know how much he was, because you look at the Murray side of things. He didn't really do anything. He got a couple of goals here and there, just bringing on as an impact sub or starting games where Green or Matt Green wasn't fit enough. But you look at the Evans effect on Rose. He's pushing himself. And
it's fair to say on that actually that players respond well to certain methods of coaching, certain coaching staff, certain managers. Matt Green had a terrible record before he came to Mansfield in terms of being in front of goal, mainly because he used to get whacked out wide. Paul Cox came in, got his arm around him, he scored best part of 50 goals in 2 seasons, got to move to a championship club. Came back under Murray, didn't sort of respond, did he? So different players, different way of coaching.
It's just manage them into as well, and that's obviously the lack of experience.
That's Steve Evans. You know, he's had countless strikers in previous clubs where they've not had the best records. He's put their arm around them and he's given them faith, and they've gone on to score goals and get good moves. That's what Steve Evans does. Moving on to the other strikers, of course, though, because my worry is, having looked at the strikers and looked at what we've got, if Danny Rose gets a knock, if a team targets Danny Rose, if he gets a suspension, whatever, have we got enough at the moment to cope with losing Danny Rose? I don't think so.
But no, this is why we need, I think, an experienced striker. I mean, I know we've got Lee Angle and that, but you can't keep relying on your strikers. But I mean, you've also got to think as well, your midfielders, they'll chip in with a couple of goals as well.
I think Angle's a fantastic talent, and I just think it's similar to the Rose thing, really. He needs probably another 2-3 months to find his feet. Once he gets that first goal under his belt, you saw when he got one-on-one with the keeper on Saturday, a bit more experience, might have took a touch, took it underneath him, whereas he fired straight at him, good positioning by the keeper in fairness. But you see that what we need is someone who's ready-made now. We haven't got the 2 months to wait.
That's it.
Also, you look at the Angles, another one. He didn't really get much game time at the clubs that he was at before. He got to get a bit of game time at Lincoln. Obviously, got a few goals for them in the last season. But he's another one that's not had the game time, coming from Peterborough, being sent out on loan and after loan.
He's another one who needs to get settled. You look at Danny Rose; he's had a year in Mansfield, not at Mansfield, in Mansfield. Working in the town, living in the town, reacting with the town, getting used to the fans, the pitch, the club. So you know, there is that difference in class. Going to move on to Amari Sterling-James. I think he's a fantastic talent, but I've got to say this: I wouldn't play him as a centre forward. No, he'd be a winger. He's an outstanding pace, outstanding trickery, but he's not a centre forward.
I think you look at Crewe and Rochdale, for example. He was in the last few minutes against Crewe, running it towards the corners, but then just like jinking it away to defenders and trying to get them chances. He was very unlucky in Crewe not to score a couple, because the chances that he created were fantastic. And I think playing him out on the wing, possibly the opposite to what Matt Green. Obviously, we stuck him in middle, it went well. Stuck Sterling-James out on the wing. I think it might do even better.
I think he'll definitely create. I think if you've got maybe start with him, Rose and Angle. You know, it might even happen at Accrington actually, because of the way they set it up. 3 forward players who can play in centre forward positions, but then you've got 2 players in Angle and Sterling-James who can drop wide and create from wide. I think that might be a better fit.
Plus, also we've got McDonald coming back as well, and he'll only add more pace as well to the team. So
that'll be like a new signing. McDonald coming back. Well, again, we'll talk more about him and that Peterborough game actually in a couple of minutes' time. Let's stay on the strikers though for now. Obviously, we mentioned Sterling-James, we've mentioned Lee Angle, Danny Rose, which leaves one more, Jimmy Spencer. He's going to get a lot of criticism, purely because strikers, wrongly in my opinion, are always judged on goals. Always judged on the record. I think he's a fantastic hold-up man. He will back into defenders, he will little niggles at defenders, he'll push, he'll pinch, he'll create that 10 yards of space in front of him for people to drop into. He's going to create goals, he's probably only going to score less than 10.
I mean, he's not a goal scorer. I mean, let's get that. You know, I mean, again, you're not going to see him get double figures, but he's got to put in to do that. So that's his role. And a lot of people, obviously going to expect goals, and he's not going to give you that. But it's a good use option to have off the bench. What
do you think of Jimmy Spencer, Cam?
I think He's very much a bit like what we did with Matt Reed, bringing him in as a strike partner rather than a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Someone to partner Sterling James, someone to partner Rose, because that we've seen in the past that works. And you look at most divisions, that does work. If you've got a striker that's going to score goals, if you've got someone there that's going to support him. So all you need is goalkeeper, long ball over top. Spencer either brings it down or flicks it on. Someone as quick as Rose or Sterling James to chase onto that. You're gonna score goals.
Yeah, different kind of player to have as well. You know.
It's and I think Spencer's a good one to bring on as well because he's quite physical. He's very tough. If we are like 2-1 up, 1-0 up, dying minutes.
Yeah.
Teams are pushing forwards, stick him on at the back. He's the sort of player that can play up the front and in defence if you needed him, just defending corners or anything like that.
Yeah. He's certainly got that power about him and no doubt that ability as well. I mean, he was in a promotion winning side last year at Plymouth, so he knows how to get promotion, he knows how to create goals. You look back at some of the footage, no doubt, a lot of Plymouth's goals would have come from work which Jimmy Spencer has done.
Yeah.
How long do you leave it now then? Because obviously the closure of the window is fast approaching. You've got a couple of weeks before it will slam shut. This is a pivotal week, isn't it, for Mansfield? Now we've got to get that striker in.
I think if it's not this week, then it's got to be next week. And I think next week's got to be, if we don't get someone now, we'll stick what we've got, we'll work with what we've got.
Have we got enough with what we've got?
I think probably striker.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble, isn't it? Because if Rose if Rose gets a knock,
that's it. You're clutching at straws, aren't you?
You are. It's a very difficult situation.
I know you mentioned something about deadline day, but at the end of the day, players are going to come available, aren't they, as well? So
that's the thing. You got to sort of play your bluff a little bit. And I think one person who's going to be instrumental in this now is Carolyn Radford, because she's done great deals. I think there was an interview, wasn't there, a couple of weeks back, that Steve Evans, through Carolyn Radford, got 13 of the 15 targets he wanted in the summer. Yeah,
and I think she's obviously had a big role in the club before, but I think this season, because John and Carolyn, they're not wanting to stay in League 2 any longer. No. They aren't either. The club have had enough, as the fans, as the club itself, they've had enough of playing lower league football. They want to push themselves as far as they can go. And I think you look at last January, I think that's the start where John and Carolyn Radford took a very, very active part in actually making signings and talking to players, getting interviews sorted. And I think we're now starting to see what capabilities the club have got as they've worked together. And I think Carolyn Radford has been fantastic in not only structuring the financial side of everything, but also getting the contacts of the clubs, talking to the players.
How many sort of clubs do you think have owners who have got the financial backing which John and Carolyn have, but just say, here's the credit card. It's like when you send your missus shopping, isn't it? Here's the credit. I mean, we're both single, but you're now. Here's my credit card. There's 200 quid in it. Go and get what you want. How many times do clubs do that, but maybe with a few more zeros on the end?
I think.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah, they do. And you look at you like Coventry. I mean, they're big spenders, obviously, a massive club in that. And end of the day, you can spend loads, but don't guarantee you success, like us, really. And
I think another one, no disrespect to them, but Notts County and Chesterfield, obviously our closest rivals. Yeah. They've had, obviously, Dave Allen in charge at Chesterfield, spending money for fun, had one good season, sold all the players on, and look where they are now. Same with County, spent all that money a few seasons ago, exactly the same place.
So many off-field issues, didn't they? I think
exactly.
Yeah. And I think on Notts County as well. Obviously, you've got Alan Hardy, who's now the owner of Notts County, who is pretty much Notts County's answer to John Radford, really.
Yeah,
he is.
Notts County fan, supposedly.
But he was taking a very active part. You see a lot on Twitter. He's actually spending not only money on the club, but also on the ground. They've had all new changing rooms. They're creating a club that people are wanting to go to, but fans on their side are still criticising him.
From the outside, it just looks like money.
Exactly.
Whereas there's no logic. Whereas with us, there's a lot of logic to it. There's a lot of we're not going to invest in the team this year because we think we'll stay stable in League 2. We're going to spend off the pitch, improve it to get more fans in, and then the more fans will give us more revenue to go, right, here we go.
And I think there's been a lot of fans criticising what they brought in. They brought in players like who they brought in? Terry Hawkridge from Lincoln. Obviously, we've seen him in the past here at Mansfield. What did you think of him? He was
bang average.
Bang average,
Nothing special.
and that's where a lot of Notts County Chesterfield's money has gone this season. Whereas you look at Swindon and Coventry, who have spent the money to get the players in. Obviously, Coventry brought in Mark McNulty, bringing in. We wanted him.
Yeah, well, it always comes with the budget as well, doesn't it? So players can only, teams can only afford what they've been given.
Exactly, and I think Mansfield, Swindon and Coventry this season have been clever with the signings. They've brought in quality, spending a bit more on it, but actually getting quality rather than bringing in lots of players, but on cheap.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that over the season. Of course, Notts County playing them very soon, and obviously the Lincoln as well. They've got a lot of money from their FA Cup run last year.
We've got Lincoln away in September, and
we've got them in the Checker Trader
and
as well,
the Checker Trophy, and we've also got Notts County at home in September as well. So
Grimsby as well, isn't there?
Some tasty fixtures in there as well. Let's move away from the on-pitch things now and do a couple of our regular features. Time to have a look at the Ultimate 11. Remember this from last week, of course. We launched it last week, looking at goalkeepers, which was quite an interesting one. It's got a bit of a debate on Twitter as well. It's actually done rather well. A few people not quite happy that we're quite young and have that in as well. Each week our panel pick their favourite Stags player to ever don a Stags shirt from any season, whether it be a trialist, a loanee or otherwise, and they have 1 minute to pitch to you, the listener or the viewer, whichever method you want to choose. We're available on YouTube, on Facebook, on SoundCloud, anywhere you want to find us. Basically pitch to you why you should vote on Twitter for their player. Obviously there's only 3 of us this week. Nathan, of course, away at the Blind European Championships. Good luck, Nathan. And Scott Rogers unable to make it this week, but we will be joined by him in future weeks as well. So only 3 choices. Maybe we'll whack a wild card in there as well. Maybe we can all try and agree on one or something. I don't know. We'll think of something. I didn't think this through. I always planned it out for 4, but there you go. Very bad production work from me. You guys obviously vote via Twitter, as we say. There's only 2 rules for our panellists. They can't pick a current player, and they can't pick a player picked by another member of the panel. This week we're looking for a right back. Before we do that though, it's time to reveal the results on last week's vote. Obviously was looking for a goalkeeper. Nathan, who isn't with us, went for Kevin Pilkington. Cam, you went for
David Groff.
Mark, you went for
Adam Marriott.
Adam or Alan? I can't remember if I said Adam Marriott, but there you go. Alan.
Yeah.
Come on, so, do you want to borrow these teeth? Right, sure, good fun. Alan Marriott, of course, and I went for Brian the Beast Jensen. I can reveal in order of worst to best, with 1% of the vote, Cam's choice of David Groff. With 4% of the vote, my choice of Brian Jensen. Very disappointed after the emotional play I made. In second place, Nathan's choice of Kevin Pilkington, which means, Mark, you are the first victor of the Ultimate 11, which means your choice of Alan Marriott makes it into the starting lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, obviously you look at what he's done recently, I think that's what swung in favour, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly so, sort of fresh in the memory. Of course, he liked it on Twitter a couple of times, so maybe we'll bombard him with tweets and try and get him on pre-interview or something. That'd be great.
Definitely.
Right back is the choice, obviously, this week. Obviously, Mark, seeing as you won this week, you're going first. So your choice of right back. Just give me a name to start off with. A trialist, loanee or otherwise, right back from down the years. Anyone that who's particularly stood out for you? I hope he doesn't take my choice, but we're going to see. We're going to see.
Tough one, really, to be fair. There's quite a few that spring to mind.
I think I've got 3, so I'm all right.
I have no clue.
Just right back. So not current players, players in the past.
Yeah, players in the past. You can't have a current player. It's in the rules.
Yeah. Right.
He's genuinely stumped. So.
Literally,
I'm stuck as well, but I don't. I've got defenders, but I don't know which position to play.
I've got one, but it's not, I don't think it was a fullback. I think it's more centre back.
Go on, give me his name.
Baptiste.
Well, to be fair, he's played. I'm going to accept that because did play right back for us occasionally, and has played sort of right back, left back. I think he played left mid, didn't he, for Middlesbrough when we played?
Yeah.
So I'm going to accept that.
Alex John Baptiste. Yeah.
You can. On that basis, then I'll give me a name and I'll see if I can accept it.
Lee Beavers.
Yeah, well, he obviously was a right back, so yeah.
Was he a right back?
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
He doesn't know his left and right. So Lee Beavers is your choice.
Yes.
Which means I can have my main choice, which I'm really happy about. Richie Sutton. Oh, it was either between him.
You had a massive man crush on Richie Sutton.
It was either him or Bobby Hassel. I was tempted to go to Bobby Hassel just to, make it a little bit broader.
I don't think I've ever seen Bobby Hassel play.
But I'm going to go Richie. I'm going to go Richie Sutton. I'm going to go Richie Sutton. So right, we have 1 minute to stake our claims for why our players should get into the starting lineup. So, Mark, I'm going to let you go first.
Yep.
So, you think you've got a claim in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a local lad, you look at the team he was in as well. He was a fantastic player for us, and again, it was around a time where we had some really good players, and you look what he's done outside of the game as well. He's gone on to play in Premier League, and he's done well for himself. And even now, he's got a move to QPR, and when he came here last time, he got a fantastic reception, and he's a player that a lot of Mansfield fans will always, remember when he came through. And as I say, what he's going on to do, is fantastic. That's off to him.
Yeah, fantastic. 30 seconds as well. So it's. I should have changed it, but me and you both used a full minute last week. So there you go. So. Your choice is obviously Lee Beavers, Iron Man Lee Beavers. A lot of respect for Beavs. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
So, a bit like Alan Marriott was last week, a very influential player in the season. We did get promotion from the conference, going up as champions, and I think being part of that team was a massive thing, and I think that team will always go down as Mansfield Town legends, getting them out of the conference. Because you look at teams in the past, we never really got what not really pushed in the conference. And I think that team was what pushed forward, and I think a lot of the time, when you look at a lot of the goals that we scored that season, they came from throw-ins. Throw-ins from Beavers straight to Cahegan, or into Luke Jones, or to Richie Sutts, or Matt Reed, or Matt Green. They all, a lot of the time, they came from either set pieces or from throw-ins. And I think not only to battle through all the injuries, dislocating his shoulder at Luton, popping it back in, getting out there and playing again, and popping it back out at Luton. Obviously,
gonna have to stop you there.
That was
way over a minute.
I'm good.
That's it. So there you go. Right. Okay. So Richie Sutton is my choice. So here we go. Richie Sutton, a legend of beard proportions. Now, when it comes to defenders, obviously Richie Sutton been chosen for right back in our promotion season, and indeed the playoff season as well. Forget the red card against York before either of you chime up. He had an excellent beard, but also Richie Sutton, aka Mr. Reliable, could play anywhere across the back four. When we had injuries, when we had suspensions, Richie Sutton stepped in. Now, you may recall in pre-season, we had a pre-season friendly away at Ilkeston where John Thompson, Martin Riley, and there was another one as well, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have actually been Sutts himself, who got an injury. John Thompson was the main right back and couldn't start the season because of his injury to his nose. Richie Sutton did, stepped in, it was fantastic, he was unshiftable, he was the man. Every single week he played, he was fantastic. A vote for Sutton is a vote for a legend. That was a
minute.
No, it's down there somewhere. It was a minute, 1 minute, 1 second 36. So I'm claiming that. Yours was 1 minute 10. So I'm having that. All right. So we've obviously given our cases for our players. Have a vote on Twitter at MTFC Matters to have a look at that. Is there any other name which you can come up with collectively that you'd like to see thrown in there, or should we just leave it? Should we just have on Twitter an AN other?
Yeah, I can't think of it.
And get them to come in. Now, one thing we have to address on that is a few Twitter comments this week. When we put the Ultimate 11 up for a vote, we did have some responses which perhaps slightly criticised our age as well on Twitter, because we picked four relatively recent goalkeepers, didn't we?
Yeah.
Why is Rod Arnold not on the list? Why is Kevin Hitchcock not on the list? We did sort of mentioned Hitchcock, but I think it's just basically because we've
not seen him play.
We've not seen him play, so
basically.
yeah. So we are going to put on there a column for you to add your vote in as well. We'll discuss it, and we are going to have a special sort of thing, at the end of the Ultimate 11, where you can add your votes in as well. So let's move on back to the discussion topics now. Then, of course, as we move towards looking ahead to Accrington on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Before we do that, obviously, one key thing this week, which we lead, that wasn't a reference to that, but fair play, which we did allude to earlier in the podcast, was the behind closed doors game at Peterborough. Narrow 1-0 defeat, but very, very vital for players to get minutes.
Definitely. I think you look at someone like Alex McDonald, obviously had a minor surgery during the closed season, and I think if he can produce anything performance-wise that he did towards the end of last season, I think we've possibly going to have one of the best midfielders in the league. Definitely. And I think because not only is he's quick, he's very physical, he can turn on the spot, he's got very good ball control as well. And I think just as an overall player, he's a fantastic player. And I think this season, as long as he keeps his fitness, obviously, because he's had the surgery, he might not keep it. Because obviously we saw it with Lee Beavers in the conference. He popped his shoulder out, had surgery on it. It kept happening. We're hoping that it doesn't keep getting. And
it's not just McDonald as well. I don't think he will. I don't think he's the type of player who's got an injured sort of history.
No.
But we do have the under-21s, the reserve team, if you like, but their first competitive fixture is not till September, when they play away at Rotherham on September the 5th. So it's a long time to wait, and players, especially with a squad as big as ours, need minutes, and having these arrangements with clubs like Peterborough, that's going to be a big boost.
Well, they're invaluable to them, aren't they? I mean, they're getting minutes, that's all they want, isn't it? So, if they've not been playing week in and week out, they're going to want to play football. And okay, people can say they're 21s or reserves or whatever you want to call them, but the minutes, I mean, going back to McDonald as well, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard Millwall put a bid in for him. I don't know if that was any truth in that.
Somebody, from what I know, somebody did bid for McDonald in close season. Evans turned it down and said there's no way that Alex McDonald is leaving. The whole thing about him not playing in pre-season was the fact he had an injury. And nobody believed it.
No.
Which game was it on the Saturday? I think it was the Forest game, actually. I walked up from Quarry Lane after parking my car on Nottingham Road. Walked up, he came out of Fitness Flex, which is the gym next door. If you want to give us some free passes for mentioning your name, hit me up. You never know. Massively bandaged up on his leg, limping, wincing, but happy to be there. Went there a couple of days later to get tickets for the crew opener. He was there. He's been involved. Stop saying when players aren't playing because they're injured. Stop saying they're going to leave. It winds me up. It really does.
I think it shows that obviously he used to live sort of like down Oxford way. I think it shows the commitment to the club that he's actually moved up to Mansfield. I'm not going to say where, but I'm guessing most fans will know, because I'm sure he'll have been walking around match days, because I've seen him before with Joel Byram, or I think it might have been Potter, I'm not sure. It was one of them two, but they live in a little house near the ground, and I think it shows the commitment, because a lot of players will see a move be like, oh, it's too far, I don't want to move away from family, and some players just like, well, I want to go and play football, I want to be the best player I can be. They push themselves further, and if it means they've got to move, they've got to move.
I mean, Oxford were reluctant to let him go, so it just shows you what that's all about,
Yeah, he's a very highly rated player by all. It just shows, whether it was Millwall or whoever. The fact that it was a higher league club that bid. He's got talent, he's got ability, and we saw it last year. And again, can play left, right, centre, and we know we'll talk about strikers earlier.
He can.
He's got the ability to play up front.
Absolutely,
And I think you look at when he was at Oxford, he didn't get much game time at all. Another one that's slipped through the net, another one that could be a fantastic player, but they just didn't get the game time. And I think to be playing at Mansfield 4 or 5 months, to be getting a bid like that from a higher club really shows how much that player, potential wise.
I can't really have an opinion too much, because obviously the majority of you will know that I produced the sports show last year for where I work, so I didn't actually see many games. I saw 2 of Steve Evans, which was Portsmouth in the last game away at Crawley, because I begged, basically. Saw McDonald in both of those games. Absolutely excellent. For me, he was probably the man of the match, especially I think it was against Crawley as well, where he ran the show. And he wasn't 100% fit. The 100% fit Alex McDonald will be like a new signing.
Definitely. And I think now that he has got the game time, you could see the potential that he got at the end of that last season. I can't remember who it was. It was like first few touches he turned, just struck it as hard as he could. I can't remember who it was against. Either you two remember that?
I think it might have been Crewe.
It might have been Hartlepool or Leighton Orient to home. Anyway, he's the ability that he showed just in that one goal, because he out-muscled the defender, turned, sprinted forward,
he's
and
a strong lad.
Struck it.
Strong.
He's electric.
He's very. You look
You wouldn't think it, would you?
You look at him and he looks a little bit top heavy, because he looks like he's been doing the arms but missing leg day.
No, but
he's a very quick, agile player.
And also playing in that game as well as obviously McDonald played. I don't know whether he played the full 90, it might have just been 45, but whatever, it's minutes in the tank, which is the important thing. Also playing in that game, obviously Bobby Lesniak, Alfie Potter, Rhys Bennett, Jacob Mellis, Jack Thomas, all the players in there as well. Basically, if you want to know who played, just have a look, have a write down who's not played the last couple of games. There's your squad, easy as that. Vital for them to get minutes, knock on the door. Steve Evans was watching. A 1-0 defeat, very tight game from what I've read and from what I've heard. It's vitally good as well from my perspective that Steve Evans isn't saying, right, here's a game, off you go, report back. He's going, he's watching. Players are staking a claim to get in that side.
Yeah, of course, John. I mean, the competition for places in every position is fantastic. I can't remember the last time we've ever had that at the club. I mean, you just look at the bench, you think anyone could play. We can have 2 teams out, and I still think we could do a job in it. So it's brilliant, the strength and depth we've got, like we've spoken about before. But yeah, you want to be impressing Steve Evans, and if he was Alex McDonald, you're thinking, well, now I've got a taste of football, I want to get starting for Accrington.
And I think the thing with Steve Evans and Alex McDonald is he rates him highly as well. And Alex McDonald is that type of player who he showed last year. Actually, we mentioned it again. Came from Oxford and not had much game time, but could play a solid 70. And still do a job. Evans might be tempted.
Definitely. The team that we played against Forest Green, going back to what Miles said about tough competition, you could look at the team and you think, how is someone like Jacob Mellis, the quality that he's got, how is he on the bench? Or Alfie Potter, another one that was on the bench. Alesnik, they're all very, very talented players, players that have got a lot of ability, but being pushed out the team because there's players that are just as good ability, but pushing a bit more. Is it down to, are they pushing a bit more, or are they just trying to change the squad up a little bit?
It'll be very interesting to see what he goes with on Saturday. Let's move on to Saturday's game at Accrington Stanley, of course. It's been a bogey ground of ours for donkey's years. I've never seen us win. I've seen us draw there, never seen us win there. We were very unlucky a couple of seasons ago, 90th minute penalty. Bonus points for anyone if they can name the goalkeeper who played that day, who was beaten from the penalty spot a couple of years ago. I think 2014, I think it was. He was on loan. Go on.
Lewis Price.
Yes, he's got it. Yes, but no bonus points for him. Just winding you up. Accrington Stanley, really good team. John Coleman, fantastic manager. Obviously, he masterminded their evolution from non-league nobodies to stable League Two side. Went off, had a couple of spells with the clubs, and as Steve Evans has mentioned in his conference, has probably been a little bit hard done by. Came back to Accrington in 2014, steadied a sinking ship, really turned them around, and they are actually competitors now. They are a very, very good side, and you look at the signings they made, they've spent a bit of money in close seasons as well. We referenced it earlier to sort of, suit and get with Billy Kee. Caden Jackson from Barnsley, undisclosed fee paid for him, centre forward, young centre forward. Bags of pace, bags of ability, and he's already finding the net. He's a fantastic talent. They're going to be tough to beat.
I mean, they were lucky not to get promoted a few seasons ago, and the good thing about them as well, they'll sell the top players, but they'll replace them with even better players, and the recruitment are fantastic down there. Fair play to them.
I mean, I don't particularly want to talk about Steve Evans leaving, but when Murray left, one of the names I wouldn't have been disappointed to see would have been John Coleman.
No,
he's a good manager. He knows this league.
This level as well.
And I think you look at Accrington, I think they finally steadied this sinking ship. They've always been the club that never dies. and that's the whole motto that their club lives on a lot of the time. That little club in Lancashire that
fighting spirit they've got, isn't it?
exactly, and I think John Coleman sees that, but also wants to push it further. And Accrington always used to struggle down the tail end. But obviously, the season that they were in the playoffs, they lost to Portsmouth. Obviously, the only reason they didn't get automatic promotion was Bristol Rovers scored in the last minute to send them up.
Yeah.
And I think they're very, very, very unlucky not to go up that season. But they've not. They've had a couple of decent seasons since then, but they've not pushed up right up the top end. Like, well, you look at some of the players that they've got now. Billy Kee is a fantastic player and probably shouldn't be playing in League Two.
No, not at all. I mean, he was doing wonders in League One before we ended up getting him. Just a bit of unlucky on his part that it sort of went stale for him for a season. So look at the other players in their squad as well. Obviously Liam Nolan, a name that we'll know from our conference days from Southport as well. He signed for an undisclosed fee in the summer, defensive minded midfielder. He'll suit Coleman's side of play. The pitch at Accrington, it's not a great surface, let's be honest.
No, it's never have been.
It's a tight, narrow surface. It's not going to be one for me where wingers are going to be that valued for us. It's got to be a strong physical game.
When Accrington played at our place last season, when we got the 4-4 draw, 4-4-2, I think they played. How many teams actually set up 4-4-2 flat?
No, it's not unheard of now. 4-4-2. I mean, it's interesting to see if Reece Bennett plays, because I mean, when you look at the goal when Billy Kee shoved him off the ball, you think if he's going to be playing for it, you know.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see how we keep Billy Kee quiet. Let's move on to predicting that game then. Obviously come to the prediction league. Right, each week here on the Mansfield Matters podcast we do a bit of a prediction league. We predict the outcome of the game and the score and the goal scorers. You get 10 points if you get your entire prediction correct, 5 points if you get the outcome correct, then you get 1 point per goal scorer that you get correct. That all adds up into a nice little team total. We've also started doing team selection, so you get 10 points per player you get right. I have to admit, on my part, I've done a little bit of a boo-boo on the old maths situation. All right, I try to do double points every time, but I can't figure out a way to do it. So what I've done is, every time you get a captain right, you times your total score by that number. So it might end up being better off for some. So it's affected me as much as it's affected you. So don't start chirping me ear on and saying you're rubbish at maths. I know! It took me 3 attempts to pass the maths exam. And on the third one I cheated. Right, so this week's prediction league, the league table is as follows. Mark, unfortunately you are propping the rest of us up on 221 points. Nathan, who is not here, is in third place on 231. Cam, you're in second on 414, which means I am top. The reason for that is the captain. You were the only one on Saturday to name Xander Diamond as captain. Even though we had him in our starting lineups, you were the only one to name him as captain. We weren't.
In all fairness, if you've got Xander Diamond in the starting lineup, I think he's going to be captain most of the time anyway.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's the captain, with a friend of the show, Paul Anderson, as vice captain, and probably Christian Pearce as well. So, since I'm top, I better go first, haven't I, really?
I suppose so.
I'm going to go, I think, even though Accrington are unbeaten at home so far this season, they're a tough side to break down, and virtue of the fact that we don't particularly do well at Accrington, I think that's got to change sometime. I think it's going to change this weekend. It's going to be narrow, it's going to be tight. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I'm going to go 3-2 Stags, and I'm going to go for goal scorers of Christian Pearce, Danny Rose to pop up again, and I'm going to go for cheeky little one from Paul Digby, I'm thinking.
Possibly.
So there you go. Team selection, I'm going to go for Conrad Logan in goal, back four of Hayden White, Christian Pearce, Xander Diamond and Mal Benning. Midfield is going to mix it up a little bit this week. I think we're going to play with Paul Digby, Joel Byram, and I think he's going to put Alfie Potter in there as well. And then I think he's going to go with Anderson, Rose and Angol. And obviously I'm going to say Xander Diamond as captain. I just think we're not going to line up in the 4-4-2, the adaptable 4-4-2 which we have. I think we're going to sit sort of more of a 4-2-3-1 with Anderson in a more of attacking midfield role and a couple of players out wide. So we'll see what happens on that. Obviously, second in the table is you, Cam. So your turn.
I think it'll be a tight one, to be honest. obviously we've been unlucky at Accrington before, but I think I'm going to go 2-1 to Mansfield with, I'm going to say Anderson, because I think we might score a free kick.
Okay.
Looks pretty solid at free kicks from what we've seen. And I'm going to go Spencer to score the other.
Okay.
In goal, I'm going to say Bobby Leshnik with White, Pearce, Diamond and Benning. Midfield, I'm going to say Anderson with Mellis, Digby and Hamilton.
Good shout.
With Rose and Spencer up front.
Ooh, okay, Mark, your turn. Nathan I think Nathan's going to send us his, by the way, so we'll reveal that on next week's podcast, but your turn.
Again, it's going to be a tough game down there. 2-1 I'd say. Scorers be Angle and I think Benning will score. I think he'll score a cracker.
He's due one, isn't he? He's due one.
He's not had one for a while.
Captain Diamond. Starting.
Oh, you didn't give your captain, Cam, by the way.
Diamond.
Okay, Karen, sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. Keeper, I think Logan will be in goal. Back four, White, Pearce, Diamond and Benning. Midfield, I want to say McDonald.
He's gone for it, okay, yeah.
Digby, Atkinson and I'm going to say Potter.
Okay, yeah. He's took my following my leading up front.
It's got to be, I'm going to say Spencer and Rose.
Ooh, okay, right, well we'll find out what happens and how that affects the old Prediction League table in next week's podcast. Well, that is just about it, but before we obviously wrap things up, time for the connection question and the old answer. At the start of the podcast, I asked you guys, and you at home as well, whether you're watching, listening or whatever, throughout history the Stags have struggled at Accrington, last bringing a point home in 2014. The Stags' last victory over Accrington was in the FA Cup in 2006, but which current Stags midfielder was an unused substitute for Accrington Stanley at the very start of his career? You thought you had an inkling, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah.
Cam, you weren't so sure.
I don't know, but I'm just seeing it. So
go on then, give me your inkling.
I've got Joe Byron in the head.
He's seen it, and he's not pulled that out there. The answer was indeed a very young Joel Byram.
It was. I think that was quite a tough one because you look at the Stags midfield. We've got a very young midfield.
We have,
and
I think a very curveball question.
It was. Who's actually old enough in our midfield to actually
very
more about experience?
There's not. I don't think there'll be many as the Stags team that have actually played since 2006.
Yes, I know.
It's a very interesting one. We'll find out, what happens with the Prediction League, and of course we'll have another connection question on next week's show as we look ahead to the upcoming fixtures, of course, over the next week. Because I think next week we've actually got 2 games to look ahead to, haven't we? I think we've got the Checker Trade Trophy in there, if my thoughts are right. How many pieces of paper have I got in this little clipboard as well? It's just ridiculous. How far back have I put these fixtures? So bad. Obviously Accrington Stanley this Saturday, and then next week we'll be looking ahead to that home game with Luton Town and the first game in the Checker Trade Trophy Group G, again at home to Lincoln Notts County, and Everton under 21s of course played last night in their game. Finished I think 2-1 to Notts County.
Yeah.
Yes, did.
So we'll have a look ahead to that, and hopefully Scott Rogers will be joining us as well on that podcast. I believe you're actually not here for the next
I'm
one,
not.
are you?
I'm in Scarborough.
He's
so
in Scarborough. So maybe we'll have to get 2 guests in, Mark.
Yeah.
It's abandoning the ship. I mean, you two had a great bromance going off in the last couple of podcasts. I thought you were a poor man's Sam and Mark. Cam and Mark. But you had a good bromance, but he's breaking it up by leaving you. How do you feel about that?
I'm heartbroken.
It's heartbroken.
I'm sure I could ring in.
Maybe we'll get you Skyping. We'll think of something. But if you want to take part in the Mansfield Matters podcast as well, you certainly can do. All you got to do is either DM us on Twitter. We are at MTFC Matters. Drop us a message on Facebook, facebook.com/MTFC Matters, or email mtfcmatters@gmail.com. If you want to come on and be a part of the show where a couple of Mansfield Town fans sit on a park bench somewhere and just chat endlessly for about an hour about Stags, feel free. We're more than happy, and who knows, if it rains I might even buy you a cup of tea. Biscuits are optional. Get involved via those methods. Good luck this weekend to our Nathan Edge, who is heading off tomorrow morning. We're recording this on Wednesday evening here in Carr Bank Park. Nathan is on the plane tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, heading out to the European Championships. It's the International Blind Sports Federation Blind Football European Championships. That is a mouthful after a very long day. Good luck to Nathan playing in the England side. Of course, his first game is on Saturday. It's been streamed on the Paralympics YouTube channel as well. We'll put a link in all of our descriptions as well. Good luck to you, Nathan, on that. Well, that's pretty much it for the podcast this evening. If you want to get involved with the show, you can do so via social media. Hit any one of us up. We'll leave our links to our social media in the description as well. Check out our blogs. Cam will write one of these days, but check out mine and Mark's blog on there as well if you'd like to do so. Facebook.com/MTFC Matters, Twitter @MTFC Matters, or Gmail mtfcmatters@gmail.com. Get involved with the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Well, because Mansfield matters. From me, from Cam, from Mark. Until next time, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, thank you for downloading, and thank you for joining us here in Carr Bank Park. Goodbye.
Bye. See ya.